A little black girl found her missing grandfather wandering in the park, but when she tried to take him home, he started screaming. The reason behind his behavior left everyone at the hospital in tears. Steam rose from the pot as Zara Thompson stirred the hot chocolate. Her small hands gripped the wooden spoon tight, muscles tense as she watched the dark liquid swirl. The kitchen clock read 4:17 p.m. Grandpa William should have called 3 hours ago. "Come on, pick up," she whispered, pressing the phone against her ear with her shoulder while continuing to stir. The familiar ringtone echoed once, twice, 3 times. No answer. Just like yesterday and the day before. The hot chocolate bubbled, threatening to spill over. Zara quickly turned off the stove and moved the pot to a cool burner. Her grandfather's voice played in her head. "The secret is in the timing, sweet pea. Too long on the heat, and it gets bitter." She stared at the 2 empty mugs on the counter. One was chipped at the rim, William's favorite, a Father's Day gift from years ago. The other had "World's Best Granddaughter" written in faded letters, a present he'd given her on her 10th birthday last year. The phone rang suddenly, making her jump. Her heart raced as she grabbed it. But her mom's name flashed on the screen instead of her grandfather's. "Hey, baby," her mom's tired voice came through. "I'm pulling another double shift at the hospital. Mrs. Martinez called in sick again." Zara's grip tightened on the spoon. "Mom, Grandpa still isn't answering." A long pause. "I know, baby. I called the police station again during my break, but they said we need to wait 72 hours before. It's been 3 days." Zara's voice cracked. The hot chocolate grew cold in the pot, untouched. "I'll try to get home early tonight." "Okay, we'll figure this out." Her mom's voice softened. "Have you eaten?" "I'm not hungry." Zara watched a car pass by through the kitchen window, hoping to see her grandfather's old blue Buick. It wasn't him. "There's leftover lasagna in the fridge. Please eat something, Zara." "Fine." She didn't move toward the fridge. After hanging up, Zara dumped the cold hot chocolate down the drain. The brown liquid swirled away, reminding her of last Thursday, the last time she'd made it with her grandfather. That afternoon had been normal. Too normal. William had helped her with her history homework, telling stories about the civil rights movement that made the textbook's dry pages come alive. His eyes had sparkled as he described meeting her grandmother at a protest march. "Your Grandma Mary. She was something else," he'd said, sipping his hot chocolate. "First time I saw her, she was giving a speech that had everyone's attention. Voice strong as steel but sweet as honey." Zara had heard the story dozens of times, but she never tired of it. Now, standing in the empty kitchen, she wished she'd asked more questions. Had there been something different about him that day? Something she should have noticed? The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the apartment. Zara moved to the living room and curled up in her grandfather's usual spot on the couch. Family photos covered the walls. William and Mary's wedding day, her mom's graduation from nursing school, Zara's first day of kindergarten. In every picture, William's smile reached his eyes. 2 years ago, that smile had dimmed when Grandma Mary died. The heart attack came without warning, leaving them all reeling. William had started living alone in his small house across town, but he kept his routine with Zara. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday after school. Hot chocolate and homework and stories. Until now, Zara's phone buzzed with a text from her best friend Destiny. "Want a video chat?" She ignored it. The last thing she wanted was to pretend everything was okay. The apartment door clicked open around 11 p.m. Zara pretended to be asleep on the couch as her mom's quiet footsteps approached. "I know you're awake," her mom said softly, sitting beside her. She smelled of hospital antiseptic and coffee. Zara opened her eyes. "Can we call the police again?" Her mom's uniform was wrinkled, dark circles under her eyes. "They said." "I don't care what they said." Zara sat up, words tumbling out. "Something's wrong. Grandpa never misses our days. Never. And his medicine, he needs his blood pressure pills. What if he forgot to take them? What if he's hurt somewhere? What if—" "Zara." Her mom pulled her close, and Zara felt her shoulders shake. "I'm worried too. First thing tomorrow, I'm going to his house again. Maybe he left some clue about where he might have gone. I'm coming with you. You have school?" "I don't care about school." The words echoed in the quiet apartment. Her mom didn't argue. Instead, she held Zara tighter, neither of them speaking about the fear that hung heavy in the air. The same fear they'd felt when Grandma Mary's phone had gone unanswered that terrible morning 2 years ago. Later, in her bed, Zara stared at the ceiling. The leather bracelet she'd made for her grandfather lay on her nightstand. She'd given it to him last month, carefully crafting it in art class. He'd worn it every day since, claiming it was his good luck charm. "Don't you ever take it off?" she'd asked last Thursday, noticing it was starting to show wear. "Only when I shower, sweet pea," he'd replied with a wink. "Gotta keep my good luck close." Zara reached for her phone, dialing his number one more time. It rang and rang in the darkness. No answer. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every car that passed on the street made her sit up, hoping to hear the familiar sound of her grandfather's Buick pulling up. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart jumped, only to sink when it wasn't him. In the early hours of the morning, she finally drifted off, dreaming of hot chocolate growing cold and a leather bracelet floating away in a dark river. In her dream, she kept reaching for it, but her fingers always closed on empty air. Tomorrow would mark the fourth day of silence. 72 hours had passed, and William Thompson was still missing. The police station smelled of coffee and printer paper. Zara sat on a hard plastic chair, watching her mom fill out another missing persons report. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, making her head hurt. "Ma'am, you said he's been missing for 4 days now." Officer Reynolds typed slowly at his computer, not looking up. "Yes." Her mom's voice was tight. "We tried filing a report earlier, but we had to wait 72 hours, Zara cut in. "We waited. Now help us find him." Officer Reynolds finally looked up, his expression neutral. "Has Mr. Thompson ever wandered off before?" "Never." Zara's mom gripped her pen harder. "He's always been independent, but he never misses appointments. He has a routine with my daughter 3 times a week. And his medical condition? High blood pressure. He needs daily medication." The officer nodded, typing again. "Any signs of forced entry at his residence?" "No." Everything was normal. His car was in the driveway, his wallet on the kitchen counter. Her mom's voice cracked. His blood pressure pills were still in the bottle. For days, worth untaken. Zara's mind drifted back to last Thursday. The memory played like a movie in her head. The civil rights movement wasn't just marches and speeches, William had said, helping her highlight important dates in her textbook. It was ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Standing up when the world told them to stay down. "Like you and Grandma Mary?" Zara had asked. "We just did what needed doing." He'd smiled, but something had been off about it. Tired. Distracted. Why hadn't she noticed? "Miss Thompson?" Officer Reynolds' voice snapped her back. "Does your father have any favorite places he likes to visit? Parks? Libraries?" "He goes to Grant Park sometimes," her mom answered. "And the library on Peachtree Street. We've checked both places multiple times. Any history of dementia or confusion?" "No." Her mom's answer came quick. Too quick. Zara remembered the time last month when Grandpa had called her Mary instead of Lisa. Her mom had pretended not to notice. The questions continued, each one making the knot in Zara's stomach tighter. After what felt like hours, Officer Reynolds handed them a copy of the report. "We'll put out an alert," he said. "Call if you hear anything." Outside, the Atlanta heat hit them like a wall. Zara watched her mom stare at the paper in her hands, shoulders slumped. "I'm not going to school," Zara said before her mom could speak. "Zara, no. I'm helping look for Grandpa." Her mom looked like she wanted to argue, but just nodded. "Let's check his house again. Maybe we missed something." William's small house sat quiet on Cedar Street, exactly as they'd left it yesterday, and the day before. The key turned in the lock with a familiar click. Inside, everything was neat. Too neat. William's coffee mug still sat by his favorite chair, a ring stain on the side table marking where he always placed it. His reading glasses lay folded beside yesterday's newspaper. "I'll check upstairs," her mom said, heading for the stairs. Her footsteps echoed in the empty house. Zara went to the kitchen. The calendar on the fridge showed her grandfather's careful handwriting. Thursday, Zara, for p.m. He'd drawn a small heart next to it, like always. Mrs. Johnson from next door knocked on the back door, her face worried. "Any news?" Zara shook her head. "I saw him last Tuesday, Mrs. Johnson said, wringing her hands. He was watering his roses. Seemed fine, but... She hesitated. But what? He called me Margaret. That's not my name. When I corrected him, he looked so confused. I should have said something. The roses. Zara moved to the back window. The rose bushes William had planted with Grandma Mary 20 years ago stood withered in the summer heat, their leaves brown and crispy. He'd never let them go unwatered this long. Did you notice anything else? Zara's mom asked, coming back downstairs. Mrs. Johnson shook her head. I heard his car leave early Wednesday morning. Thought he was going to the grocery store. That's the last time I saw him. After Mrs. Johnson left, Zara's mom opened the medicine cabinet. William's blood pressure pills sat in their orange bottle, for days' worth of doses still inside. Next to them, a bottle of something else caught Zara's eye. Mom? She pointed to the unfamiliar prescription. Her mom picked it up, reading the label. Her face went pale. These are new. Memory medication. Prescribed 2 weeks ago. Her voice shook. Why didn't he tell us? Maybe he forgot, Zara said quietly. The word hung between them. Forgot. Like when he called her Mom Mary. Like when he put his keys in the freezer last month and laughed it off. They spent the rest of the morning searching the house. Zara checked every drawer, every closet, looking for any clue about where he might have gone. Her mom called hospitals again, then his doctor, trying to get information about the new prescription. Around noon, Zara's phone buzzed. A text from Destiny. Missing you at school. Everything okay? She ignored it again. How could she explain? How could anyone understand the fear eating away at her insides? The days stretched on. They put up missing person flyers around the neighborhood, talked to more neighbors, called more hospitals. Each dead and felt like another stone in Zara's chest. As evening approached, her mom's phone rang. She answered quickly, hope flashing across her face before dying. No, I understand. Thank you for checking. She hung up, shoulders dropping. That was the hospital in Marietta. No one matching his description. Zara stood by the front window, watching the street like she had every day since Thursday. The same cars passed. The same people walked their dogs. Everything normal, except nothing was normal at all. I have to work tomorrow, her mom said softly. We can't afford for me to miss another shift. I'll keep looking. Zara, I'll check every park in Atlanta if I have to. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. He's out there somewhere, Mom. He has to be. Her mom didn't argue. Instead, she pulled Zara close, and they stood there as the sun set, casting long shadows through William's empty house. That night, back in their apartment, Zara lay awake again. Her phone showed 3 a.m., the screen too bright in the darkness. She pulled up the last photo she'd taken with her grandfather from just last week. They were smiling at the camera, his leather bracelet visible on his wrist. The same question circled in her mind like hungry wolves. Why didn't he tell them about the memory medicine? Where did he go that early Wednesday morning? Was he scared? Lost? Did he know they were looking for him? Tomorrow was Sunday. 4.5 days since anyone had seen William Thompson. The police had their report now, but reports didn't find people. Reports didn't bring grandfathers home. Zara touched the matching leather bracelet on her own wrist. Somewhere out there, William was wearing his. She had to believe that. Had to believe she'd see it again. Sleep came in fragments, filled with dreams of empty houses and unanswered phones. In the distance, a siren wailed, and Zara wondered if somewhere, in some hospital or police station, someone was finding her grandfather. But morning came, and the phone stayed silent. Sunday morning at Grant Park felt wrong. Children laughed on the playground while parents sat on benches, coffee cups in hand. Everything too normal, too peaceful. Zara walked the familiar paths, her eyes scanning every bench, every person. Her mom's words from breakfast echoed in her head. 1 hour, Zara. Then we try the other parks? The morning sun beat down, making her t-shirt stick to her back. She'd already checked the duck pond where her grandfather used to take her feeding birds. Empty. The chess tables where he taught her to play. Empty. The rose garden that reminded him of Grandma Mary. Empty. A group of joggers passed, their footsteps crunching on the gravel path. Zara barely noticed them, her eyes fixed on an old man sitting alone on a bench near the fountain. Wrong hair color. Not him. Her phone buzzed. Mom checking in again. Still looking, she texted back. Nothing yet. The playground began to clear as lunchtime approached. Zara's stomach growled, reminding her she'd barely eaten since Thursday. It didn't matter. She couldn't eat. Not until... That's when she saw him. At first, it was just a glimpse, a hunched figure on a distant bench, partially hidden by trees. Something about the way he sat made her heart skip. Zara moved closer, her feet barely touching the ground. The man wore dirty clothes, nothing like her grandfather's usual neat button-downs. His white hair was unkempt, his shoes scuffed and muddy. But there, on his wrist, a flash of leather caught the sunlight. "Grandpa?" Her voice came out as a whisper. The man didn't look up. He stared at the ground, muttering something she couldn't hear. Zara took another step, then another, close enough now to see the bracelet clearly. The one she'd made in art class, carefully weaving the leather strips together. The one he'd promised never to take off. Grandpa William? He lifted his head slowly. His eyes, usually so bright and focused, looked cloudy and confused. Dark circles beneath them made his face look hollow. "Sir," he said, his voice raspy. "Do I know you?" The words hit Zara like a punch. "Grandpa, it's me." "It's a..." He frowned, looking around like he'd lost something. "Zara? I need to get home. Mary's waiting." "Mary. Grandma Mary. Dead 2 years now." Zara's hands shook as she pulled out her phone, pressing her mom's number. It rang once before she answered. "Mom," Zara choked out. "I found him. Grant Park. Near the fountain. Don't move. I'm 5 minutes away." William started to stand, his movements shaky. "Have to get home? Mary needs her medicine. Please sit down, Grandpa." Zara reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Don't touch me." The sharpness in his voice made her step back. "Where's Mary?" "She was just here." People nearby started looking their way. A woman with a stroller hesitated, then changed direction. "It's okay," Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady like her mom did with scared patients. "We'll find Mary together. Just stay here with me." William's eyes darted around, growing more agitated. No. She needs me. I have to." He tried to stand again, stumbling. Zara caught his arm before he fell. His skin felt cold despite the heat. "Let go." He tried to pull away, but his movements were weak. "Mary! Mary! Someone call an ambulance." A man's voice called from somewhere behind them. William's legs gave out. Zara helped him back onto the bench, her own legs shaking. He kept calling for Mary, his voice getting weaker. "I'm here, Grandpa." Tears ran down her face. "Please. I'm right here." She heard running footsteps. Then her mom's voice. "Dad? Oh God, Dad." William looked at her without recognition. "Where's Mary?" Her mom knelt in front of him, nurse mode taking over. She checked his pulse, his eyes. "Dad, how long have you been out here? Have you been taking your medication?" He just kept asking for Mary. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Zara stood back as paramedics rushed in with a stretcher. She watched them take his vitals, asked him questions he couldn't answer, shine lights in his eyes. "Blood pressure's through the roof," one paramedic said. "Possible stroke. We need to move." "I'm his daughter," her mom said, showing ID. "He's been missing for 4 days. He has a history of hypertension." They loaded William onto the stretcher. He didn't resist anymore, his energy spent. But his hand reached out, grasping at air. "Mary." His voice was barely a whisper now. Zara caught his hand, the leather bracelet pressed between their palms. "It's okay, Grandpa," she said, walking beside the stretcher. "We're going to take care of you now." The ambulance doors closed with a final click. Her mom climbed in front, leaving Zara alone in the park where she'd spent so many happy afternoons with her grandfather. The bench where she'd found him sat empty now. A forgotten newspaper fluttered in the breeze. Nearby, a father pushed his daughter on a swing, their laughter carrying across the park. Zara's phone buzzed. A text from her mom. "Meeting ambulance at Grady Memorial. Take an Uber. Here's money." A payment notification followed. She took one last look at the bench before walking toward the park exit. The sun still shone. Children still played. Sunday continued like any other day, except nothing would be the same again. In the Uber, Zara touched her own leather bracelet. She'd made two matching pairs. One for her, one for him. A connection she thought couldn't be broken. But sitting in the back seat, watching Atlanta blur past the window, she wondered if some connections could break without anyone noticing. Like her grandfather's memories, slipping away one by one until he couldn't even recognize his own granddaughter. The hospital waited ahead, its tall buildings visible even from blocks away. Somewhere inside, doctors would be examining William, trying to understand what went wrong. Why he wandered, why he forgot. Zara closed her eyes, remembering his voice from happier days. Gotta keep my good luck close. The leather bracelet had led her to him. But luck, it seemed, hadn't been enough to keep him safe. The Uber pulled up to the emergency entrance. Through the sliding glass doors, another world waited. A world of beeping machines and antiseptic smells. A world where her grandfather might never be the same again. Zara stepped out of the car, straightened her shoulders, and walked through those doors. Whatever came next, she would face it. For him, the bracelet on her wrist caught the fluorescent hospital lights. A promise kept, even if he couldn't remember making it. The emergency room smelled like bleach and fear. Zara sat in a hard plastic chair, watching nurses rush past. Her grandfather's voice echoed from behind a thin curtain. "Where am I? Where's Mary?" "Mr. Thompson, you're at Grady Memorial," a nurse explained for the third time. "Your daughter Lisa and granddaughter found you in Grant Park." No. I need to go home. Mary's waiting." Zara's mom stood by his bed, still in her Sunday clothes. "Dad, please. Let them help you." A doctor appeared, clipboard in hand. "Miss Thompson?" "A word." They stepped away, speaking in low voices. Zara strained to hear. "Initial scans show signs of a recent stroke," the doctor said. "Combined with his confusion and memory loss, how much will the treatment cost?" Her mom's voice was tight. The doctor glanced at his papers. "Given the complexity and urgency, we're looking at a significant deposit before we can proceed with specialized care." "How significant?" He named a number that made her mom's face go pale. "That's just the deposit?" "Unfortunately, yes. I understand this is difficult, but time is crucial with stroke patients." Zara watched her mom's hands clench. "I need to make some calls." A crash from behind the curtain made them all jump. William had tried to get up, knocking over a tray table. "Sir, please stay in bed," a nurse urged, trying to hold him down. "Let me go." His voice was stronger now, panicked. "Mary needs her medicine." "I have to." "Dad, Mary's not." Her mom stopped, pain crossing her face. "Mary's okay. She wants you to rest." William's struggles weakened. "She was just here. I saw her." Zara couldn't take it anymore. She slipped behind the curtain, approaching the bed slowly. "Grandpa?" He turned toward her, voice, eyes unfocused. "Do I know you?" "It's Zara." She touched the leather bracelet on his wrist. "Remember? I made this for you." He looked at the bracelet, frowning. "Is there little Zara?" "Yes." Hope flickered in her chest. "But you're just a baby." "Mary, just show me your picture." He closed his eyes. "My head hurts." The doctor stepped in, checking monitors. His blood pressure is still dangerously high. "We need to start treatment soon." Her mom pulled out her phone again, stepping into the hallway. Zara heard fragments of conversations. "Uncle James, I know it's a lot to ask. The insurance won't cover. Please, he needs help now." Hours crawled by. The emergency room's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, making everything feel unreal. Nurses came and went. William drifted in and out of sleep, sometimes calm, sometimes calling for Mary. Around midnight, a hospital administrator appeared with forms. "Miss Thompson?" "About the deposit." Her mom's voice cracked. "I've called everyone. I can get half by tomorrow, but I'm sorry, but we need the full amount to proceed with specialized treatment. He's had a stroke. You can't just. We'll continue basic care, but the neurological team and rehabilitation services require. Basic care isn't enough." Her mom stood up. "He needs specialists. He needs—" William started thrashing in bed again, more violent this time. His heart monitor began beeping frantically. "Code blue. Get a crash cart." Everything blurred. Nurses rushed in. Someone pushed Zara and her mom out of the way. Through gaps between bodies, she saw her grandfather's face turning gray. "BP's 210 over 120. Push 10 of. Clear the rooms." In the hallway, Zara pressed against her mom, both of them watching through the window as doctors worked. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, the chaos settled. A nurse came out looking tired. "We've stabilized him, but he needs its specialized care. Soon." Her mom wiped her eyes. "I need more time. Please." "I'll talk to the administrator," the nurse said softly. "See if we can work something out." "But—" She glanced back at William. "Time isn't on our side." When they were allowed back in, William was sleeping. Oxygen tubes ran under his nose. New 4 bags hung above his bed. "I have to get to work," her mom said, checking her watch. "Morning shift starts in 5 hours. I'll stay with him." "Zara, you have school. I'm not leaving him alone." Her mom looked like she wanted to argue, but just nodded. "Call if anything changes. I'll be back as soon as my shift ends." After she left, Zara pulled her chair closer to the bed. William's hand lay on the white sheet, the leather bracelet stark against his pale skin. "I'm here, Grandpa," she whispered, taking his hand. "I'm not going anywhere." Through the night, she dozed in the uncomfortable chair, waking whenever he stirred or called out for Mary. Nurses checked in regularly, their shoes squeaking on linoleum floors. Dawn crept in through narrow windows. William opened his eyes. "Where?" His voice was hoarse. "Hospital, Grandpa." "You're okay." He turned toward her, confusion clouding his face. Then, for a moment, clarity. "Zara." A flash of recognition. "What happened to the hot chocolate?" Tears sprang to her eyes. "We'll make some soon. Promise." But the clarity faded. He looked around the room, agitated again. "Mary should be here. She always comes in the morning." Before Zara could respond, his body went rigid. Alarms blared. "Grandpa." His eyes rolled back, arms and legs jerking. "Help!" Zara screamed. "Somebody help!" Nurses rushed in as William seized. Someone pulled Zara away as doctors shouted orders. "Second stroke. Get CT on the line. BP's spiking again. Need that neurologist now." In the hallway, Zara pressed her hands against the glass, watching them work to save her grandfather. Her phone buzzed, Mom checking in. But how could she explain this? How could she put into words the way her grandfather's mind was slipping away like water through cupped hands? The leather bracelet on her wrist felt heavy, a promise of protection that hadn't been enough. Morning shift changed to afternoon. Her mom couldn't leave work. They needed the money now more than ever. Zara stayed, watching William's chest rise and fall, listening to machines beep, counting the minutes between nurse visits. The hospital administrator stopped by again, more forms in hand, more requirements, more money they didn't have. And through it all, William drifted further away, lost in a world where Mary still lived and Zara was still a baby and everything made sense. A world they couldn't reach. "What do you mean you can't find his social security card?" Zara's mom gripped the hospital administrator's desk, knuckles white. "He had his wallet when he wandered off." "Mrs. Thompson." "A mess," Zara corrected from her chair in the corner. The administrator ignored her. "Without proper documentation, we can't process the insurance claims or financial assistance applications." The administrator, Ms. Chun, shuffled papers on her desk. "We need his social security number at minimum." "He's been here 2 days," Zara's mom said. "You've been treating him. Emergency services are different from extended care." Ms. Chin's voice stayed professionally neutral. "For the specialized treatment Dr. Roberts recommended, we need complete documentation." The office felt too small, too warm. Zara watched her mom's shoulders sag. "Can I check his room again?" her mom asked. "Maybe it fell out of his wallet when security already searched the area where he was found," Ms. Chin said. "Nothing was turned in?" Zara thought about the past 4 days, trying to reconstruct her grandfather's movements. "What about the park?" "We could look." "The police already searched Grant Park," her mom cut in. Dark circles under her eyes made her look older. "Twice." Ms. Chun cleared her throat. "There's also the matter of the outstanding balance. Even with insurance, assuming we find his documentation, I'll get the money." Her mom's voice cracked. "Somehow." Back in William's room, the machines kept their steady rhythm. He slept more now, the medications keeping him calm. Sometimes too calm. "We need to retrace his steps," Zara said, watching her grandfather's chest rise and fall. From when he left home Wednesday morning, Her mom checked her watch. I have work in an hour. I'll go. Tell me where to look? Zara, you can't skip any more school. Your principal already called. This is more important. The words echoed in the small room. William stirred but didn't wake. Her mom sank into a chair. I know, baby. I know it is. She rubbed her eyes. But we need to think long-term. Medical bills, care costs. I can't lose any more shifts. Then let me help. Zara pulled out her phone, opening the map. The police report said someone saw him at the library on Wednesday. I'll start there. Her mom looked ready to argue, then just nodded. Be careful. Keep your phone on. The Atlanta Public Library stood quiet in the morning sun. Zara pushed through the heavy doors, remembering all the times she'd come here with her grandfather. Knowledge is power, he always said, helping her pick books. Your Grandma Mary taught me that. The librarian at the desk looked up as Zara approached. Can I help you? My grandfather was here last Wednesday. Tall black man, white hair, wearing a leather bracelet. She held up her own wrist to show the matching one. Recognition flickered across the librarian's face. Oh yes, Mr. Thompson. He seemed confused. Kept asking for old newspapers. Did he leave anything behind? Maybe a wallet or card? No, but... The librarian hesitated. He was looking up something about Mary Johnson. Spent hours at the microfilm machine. Zara's heart jumped. That's my grandmother's maiden name. What was he looking for? Marriage records, I think. From the 1960s. The librarian frowned. When he couldn't find what he wanted, he got upset. Security had to ask him to leave. Another dead end. But maybe. Which way did he go when he left? Toward Peachtree Street, I think. There's a diner there where he usually gets coffee. Jimmy's Diner sat 2 blocks away, its neon sign buzzing in the window. Inside, the smell of coffee and bacon filled the air. A waitress looked up as the bell chimed. A little early for lunch, honey. Zara pulled out her phone, showing a picture of William. My grandfather was here last Wednesday. Did he leave anything behind? The waitress squinted at the photo. Oh, Willie. Yeah, he was acting strange that day. Ordered coffee, but didn't drink it. Kept saying he was late for something. Did he pay with cash or card? Cash. Left his whole wallet on the table, actually. I tried to catch him, but she disappeared into the back, returning with a familiar brown leather wallet. Been holding it for him. Zara's hands shook as she opened it. Credit cards, library card, photos, but no social security card. Did he say where he was going? The waitress shook her head. But he was reading this when he left. She pulled a crumpled newspaper from under the counter. Left it behind, too. Zara smoothed out the paper. The date showed last Wednesday. One article was circled in shaky pen. City to demolish historic West Side buildings. The address in the article made her breath catch. That was where Grandma Mary grew up, where she and William first met. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mom. Where are you? Principal called again. Found his wallet. Zara typed back. But no SS card. Think I know where he went next. Come back to hospital. Now. But Grandpa's getting worse. The taxi ride back felt endless. Zara clutched the wallet and newspaper, mind racing. The article, the marriage records, Mary's childhood home. Pieces of a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. At the hospital, she heard the commotion before reaching William's room. Sir, please calm down. Need to find it? The papers. Mr. Thompson, you need to stay in bed. Zara ran in to find 2 nurses restraining her grandfather. He fought weakly against them, eyes wild. Mary's papers. Have to save them. Dad, stop. Her mom tried to hold his hand. You'll hurt yourself. The building, they're tearing it down. His voice broke into sobs. Understanding hit Zara like lightning. The community center, where you and Grandma Mary met. They're demolishing it. William went still, clarity flashing across his face. The box behind the brick. Our marriage license. Then his eyes rolled back, body going limp. BP's dropping. Get Dr. Roberts. Clear the room. In the hallway, Zara showed her mom the newspaper. He was trying to save their memories. Before they tore the building down, her mom read the article, tears falling. Oh, Dad. Hours later, after William stabilized again, Dr. Roberts delivered more bad news. The second stroke caused additional damage. Without immediate specialized treatment, he let the sentence hang. We found his wallet, Zara's mom said. But the Social Security card, there's something else? Dr. Roberts looked uncomfortable. The treatment, even with insurance, the cost has increased. Given the complications, he named a number that made Zara's mom sink into a chair. I can't. She covered her face. Even if we find the card, Zara looked at her grandfather, sleeping restlessly. The newspaper article crumpled in her hand. One last piece of the puzzle waited in a condemned building on the west side. But time was running out. The leather bracelet felt heavy on her wrist, a reminder of promises made and kept, and one more promise she had to keep no matter what. The specialized care unit looked nothing like the emergency room. Everything here gleamed with expensive equipment. Each room equipped with advanced monitoring systems. Dr. Roberts led Zara and her mom down the quiet hallway. This is where we treat Mr. Thompson, he explained. Our neurology team has the latest technology for stroke recovery and memory care. Zara watched a nurse adjust settings on a machine that probably cost more than their apartment. Her mom's face said she was thinking the same thing. And without this treatment, her mom asked quietly. Dr. Roberts' expression turned grave. The damage from both strokes is severe. Without specialized intervention, he may never regain significant cognitive function. The risk of another stroke also remains high. Through a window, Zara could see her grandfather in his regular room, sleeping fitfully. The leather bracelet stood out against the white hospital sheets. I need to make a call, her mom said, stepping away. Her voice shook as she dialed. Mr. Harrison? About that second job, Zara followed Dr. Roberts back to William's room. The monitors beeped steadily, marking each heartbeat, each breath. Is he in pain? She asked. We're managing his discomfort, Dr. Roberts replied. But his confusion causes emotional distress. He's living mostly in memories now. As if on cue, William stirred. Mary? That you? It's Zara, Grandpa. He turned toward her, voice, eyes cloudy. Little Zara? No, you're too big. Where's my baby girl? I grew up, Grandpa. Remember? We have hot chocolate every week. Confusion crossed his face. Hot chocolate? Mary makes the best hot chocolate. Is she bringing some? Before Zara could answer, her mom returned, phone clutched tight. The diner's hiring. Night shift. Mom, no. You're already working doubles at the hospital. We need the money. Her voice left no room for argument. The specialized care deposit. Mrs. Thompson? A nurse appeared in the doorway. Administration needs to see you about the paperwork. Her mom's shoulders slumped. More forms they can't process without his Social Security card. I could go to the community center, Zara said. If Grandpa had their marriage license there, maybe his card. Absolutely not. That building's condemned. Her mom headed for the door. Stay with him. I'll handle the paperwork. Alone with William, Zara watched his face twitch in troubled sleep. What was he seeing behind those closed eyes? Which memories still lived clear and bright in his mind? Mary, he mumbled. The box, have to get the box. The newspaper article sat folded in Zara's pocket. The address of the old community center burned into her memory. Just 6 blocks from here. William's eyes opened suddenly, startlingly clear. Zara? Her heart jumped. Yes, Grandpa. I'm here. Why aren't you in school? A laugh bubbled up, half sob. It's more important to be here with you. He frowned, an echo of his old stern expression. Education first. Your Grandma Mary always said. His face clouded. Mary? Where's Mary? The moment of clarity vanished. He began to fidget, trying to sit up. Have to find the box, he muttered. Before they tear it down. What's in the box, Grandpa? Marriage license, photos, my card. His hands plucked at the sheets. Mary said keep it safe. Behind the loose brick. 3rd row up. Zara's phone buzzed. A text from her mom. Meeting with financial office. Might take hours. Stay put. Through the window, she could see the old brick buildings of the west side. The community center waited there, holding pieces of her grandfather's past. Pieces they desperately needed. I'll be right back, Grandpa, she whispered. The nurse at the station was focused on paperwork. Zara slipped past, heart pounding. The elevator seemed to take forever. Outside, Atlanta's summer heat hit like a wall. She pulled up the article's address on her phone and started walking. The community center stood like a ghost among newer buildings, its red bricks faded and crumbling. Yellow caution tape fluttered across the entrance. A sign warned, "Demolition notice, keep out." Zara ducked under the tape. The front door hung off its hinges, making entry easy. Inside, dust motes danced in streams of light from broken windows. Third row up, she muttered, running her hands along the brick wall. Behind the loose brick, minutes passed. Her phone buzzed repeatedly, Mom checking in. She ignored it, moving faster. There, a brick shifted under her fingers. The space behind it held a small metal box, rusted but intact. Her hands shook as she pulled it out. A crash behind her made her spin around. Two construction workers stood in the doorway. "Hey, you can't be in here." Zara clutched the box and ran. Past the workers, under the caution tape, feet pounding on concrete. Her phone kept buzzing. Back in the hospital parking lot, she finally stopped, gasping for air. Dozens of missed calls from her mom. The box opened with a creak. Inside, old photos, a marriage license yellow with age, and a worn Social Security card. Her phone rang again. "Where are you?" Her mom's voice cracked with panic. "Coming up." "And Mom, I found it." Back in William's room, everything happened fast. Social Security card copied, forms processed, insurance verified. But then came the final numbers. Even with insurance, the administrator said, "The specialized care costs. I'll take the diner job." Her mom interrupted. "And I can pick up extra hospital shifts. Lisa." Dr. Roberts' voice was gentle. "You're already working doubles. The night shift would mean leaving your daughter alone." "I can handle it," Zara said. "No." Her mom's voice shook. "There has to be another way." William stirred, reaching for something only he could see. "Mary? The music's starting." Dr. Roberts checked the monitors. "We need to decide soon. His condition." "Give me an hour," her mom said. "Please." In the hallway, Zara watched her mom make more calls. Uncle James again. The bank. Each conversation ended with slumped shoulders, wiped tears. Inside the room, William drifted between memories. Sometimes he was at his wedding, dancing with Mary. Sometimes teaching a young Zara to read. Each moment clear and precious to him. Even as the present slipped away, her mom returned, eyes red. "They won't extend the loan. And the second job, it's not enough. Not in time." Through the window, the sun began to set. Another day slipping away. Another piece of William's mind fading. "What about the basic care?" Zara asked. "Just until we save more." Dr. Roberts shook his head. "The damage. Every day without specialized treatment." The machines kept beeping. William kept dreaming. And in her pocket, Zara felt the weight of his Social Security card. Found too late to make a difference. Her mom stepped out again, phone in hand. "One last try." Zara took William's hand. Feeling the leather bracelet press between their palms, his eyes opened, surprisingly clear. "Sweet Pea." The old nickname made her heart jump. "I'm here, Grandpa. Why do you look so sad?" She tried to smile. "Just tired." He squeezed her hand weakly. "Your Grandma Mary always said, sometimes the hardest choice." His voice faded, clarity slipping away again. Outside the door, she heard her mom's voice break. "Please. He's my father. There has to be something." The machines kept beeping as night fell over Atlanta. Somewhere in the city, a construction crew prepared to tear down an old community center. Somewhere, a diner night shift started without a new waitress. And in a hospital room, a family faced an impossible choice. William's hand went slack in Zara's grip as he drifted back to sleep, back to his memories of Mary and music and moments long past. The leather bracelet caught the last light of day, a promise kept but somehow still not enough. The physical therapy room smelled of disinfectant and rubber mats. Zara sat on a plastic chair, watching her grandfather struggle to hold a foam ball. "Good, Mr. Thompson," the therapist encouraged. "Try to squeeze it one more time." William's hand shook. The ball slipped, bouncing across the floor. Zara moved to retrieve it, but the therapist held up a hand. "Let him try." William stared at the ball, confusion crossing his face. "Mary usually picks it up." "Grandpa," Zara said softly. Remember what we practiced? You could do it. He turned toward her, voice, brow furrowed. Recognition flickered, then faded. But he moved his wheelchair forward, slowly reaching for the ball. 3 weeks had passed since the night they'd almost lost him. 3 weeks of basic care, watching him slip further away while they waited for a miracle. The miracle came in an envelope. Social services approved emergency funding. Her mom had explained, tears streaming. It won't cover everything, but with the insurance and my savings. Now they sat in the specialized care unit, fighting for every small victory, every squeeze of a ball, every remembered word. Zara pulled out her new notebook, bought with allowance money saved for months. On the cover, she'd written, Grandpa's Journey. Inside, she recorded everything. Day 1. Moved to specialized unit. Day 2. Recognized my voice. Day 3. Held spoon for 30 seconds. A therapist helped William back to his starting position. Let's try something else. Can you point to your granddaughter? William's eyes scanned the room, passing over Zara twice before stopping. His hand lifted, trembling. The little one? He asked. In the purple dress? Zara wore jeans and a t-shirt. She wrote in her notebook, Day 21, still seeing younger me. I'm here, Grandpa. She moved into his line of sight. All grown up now, remember? He squinted. Zara, yes, but you were just small. His hand dropped. My head hurts. The therapist made a note on her clipboard. That's enough for today. Good work, Mr. Thompson. In his room, Zara helped the nurse settle him into bed. The leather bracelet needed cleaning. She'd have to remember to do that later. Time for medication, the nurse said, preparing syringes. William turned his head away. Don't want it. Makes everything fuzzy. It helps prevent another stroke, Zara explained like she did every day. Remember what Dr. Roberts said? Roberts? William's face clouded. Mary knows my doctors. Your daughter Lisa handles your care now, the nurse said patiently. Mary's not here. Of course she is. She's right. He looked around, agitation building. She was just... Zara touched his hand before the confusion could spiral. Hey, Grandpa, want to hear a story? The distraction worked. He settled back, letting the nurse give his injections. Zara pulled a worn book from her backpack, one he'd given her years ago. Civil rights stories for young readers. That's a good book, William said, surprising her. Mary and I met at a protest march, Zara finished. You told me the story. A spark of clarity. You remember that? Of course. You tell it every Thursday with hot chocolate. His face fell. Haven't had hot chocolate in. How long? 23 days, Zara said, checking her notebook. But we'll have some again soon. The nurse finished her tasks and left. Zara opened the book, finding the chapter about Montgomery. It started with one woman's courage, she read. Rosa Parks sat down, and a movement stood up. William's eyes drifted closed, but his lips moved slightly, reciting words he'd read hundreds of times. Down the hall, Zara heard her mom talking with Dr. Roberts. The therapy's helping, he said, but progress will be slow. The damage from both strokes. I know. Her mom's voice was tired, working double shifts again, despite the emergency funding. But he's fighting. The insurance extension won't last forever. Have you considered long-term care facilities? Silence. Zara read louder, drowning out their voices. Change comes from ordinary people doing extraordinary things. William's hand found hers, gripping weakly. For a moment, his eyes cleared. You sound just like her, he whispered. Like who? Mary. Reading to the children at the community center. Zara's heart jumped. A real memory, not confusion. She wrote in her notebook, Day 21, remembered community center. But the clarity faded. His eyes clouded again. Is Mary coming soon? Close your eyes, Grandpa. Rest. He drifted off, medication taking hold. Zara kept reading, even after his breathing deepened into sleep. Her mom appeared in the doorway, looking exhausted in her hospital scrubs. Another double shift ahead. How was therapy? He held the ball longer today. Zara showed her the notebook, and he remembered the community center. Her mom smiled, but worry lined her face. Baby, we need to talk about school. I'm keeping up with the homework. Mostly true. Math was slipping, but everything else? Your principal called again. 3 weeks of half-days. I can't leave him alone. Zura. He remembers more when I'm here. She pointed to her notes. See? 23 days of progress. Her mom sat heavily in the visitor's chair. I know you want to help, but you're 11. You shouldn't have to. I want to. Zara gripped her notebook tight. He took care of me. Now it's my turn. William stirred, muttering in his sleep. Both of them froze, waiting to see if he'd get agitated. Mary, he mumbled. The children need more books. Zara wrote it down. Day 21, Dreams of Teaching. Honey, her mom touched her shoulder. You can't record everything. Yes, I can. She turned the page. Every memory matters. Through the window, afternoon sun cast long shadows. Her mom's next shift would start soon. Another night of Zara, doing homework in the hospital room, watching monitors blink, writing down every small victory. The physical therapy room down the hall echoed with other patients' efforts, counting steps, lifting weights, fighting their own battles. William's leather bracelet needed cleaning. His hair needed trimming. The book of civil rights stories needed new page markers. Zara added to her list. Day 21, things to do tomorrow. Because there would be a tomorrow, and another day after that. Each one a new page in her notebook, a new chance for William to find his way back. Even if he had to do it one squeeze of a foam ball at a time. The hospital cafeteria served terrible coffee. Zara watched her mom stir a third packet of sugar into her cup, hands shaking from exhaustion. He said my name yesterday, Zara said, pushing her notebook across the table. 3 times. And he knew it was me, not little me. Her mom squinted at the page. Dark circles under her eyes made her look older than her 35 years. That's good, baby. She tried to smile. Really good? But something in her voice made Zara sit up straighter. What's wrong? Dr. Roberts called. The insurance extension. She stared into her coffee. It runs out next week. The cafeteria sounds faded to a dull roar. Somewhere, a tray clattered to the floor. But he's getting better, Zara said. Your notes show it too. Her mom pulled out a crumpled paper from her scrubs pocket. Numbers and dates covered the page. Even with the reduced rate and my extra shifts, she pressed her fingers to her temples. We can't afford another month of specialized care. What about social services? They helped before. Emergency funding is one time only. Zara opened her notebook to the latest entry. Day 47. Grandpa held spoon for whole meal. Remembered Thursday is hot chocolate day. He can't go back to basic care, she said. Not now. I know. Her mom's voice cracked. I know, baby. Upstairs, they found William sitting up in bed, staring out the window. The morning sun caught his white hair, making it glow silver. There's my girls, he said clearly. Zara's heart jumped. She grabbed her pen. Day 47. Recognized us both. How you feeling, Dad? Her mom checked his monitors, nurse mode taking over. Tired? He frowned. Mary usually visits by now. The moment of clarity gone. Zara made another note. Physical therapy in 10 minutes, her mom said, checking her watch. I have to get to work. Zara, I'll take him. You have school. Half day. Already cleared it with Principal Evans. Her mom looked like she wanted to argue, but just kissed them both goodbye. In therapy, William worked with the foam ball again. His grip stronger now, more certain. Excellent, Mr. Thompson, the therapist said. Now, can you pass it to Zara? His hand trembled, but the ball landed in her lap. Good job, Grandpa. She wrote it down. Day 47. Threw ball accurately. Did you see that, Mary? He called to an empty corner. The therapist's smile dimmed. Let's try standing next. Zara watched them work, recording every movement. The way his legs shook less today. How he held the walker for 30 seconds before sitting. Back in his room, lunch waited on a tray. William stared at the spoon. Need help? Zara asked. He gripped it clumsily. Used to be better at this. You're getting better every day. She showed him her notebook. See? All your progress. He squinted at the pages. You write like Mary. All neat and careful. You told me Grandma Mary was a teacher. 3rd grade. His eyes cleared slightly. At the community center. Before they... He stopped confused. Are they still tearing it down? It's gone, Grandpa. Zara touched the leather bracelet on his wrist. But we save your memories. The box, remember? He stared at the bracelet. You made this? Yes. For my birthday? No, just because. She showed him her matching one. See? He touched it gently. My good luck charm. The moment stretched, real and precious. Zara wrote quickly. Day 47, remembered bracelet story. Then his hand dropped. Is Mary bringing hot chocolate? Afternoon brought more therapy. Walking with the walker. Squeezing rubber bands. Naming objects and pictures. Cup, he said. Book. Chair. And this? The therapist pointed to a clock. William frowned. Mary knows. She teaches time to her students. Zara added it to her notes. Day 47, object recognition improving. Still mixes past/present. Evening came. Her mom stopped by between shifts, looking more exhausted than ever. Principal Evans called, she said quietly while William dozed. You're falling behind in math. I'll catch up. Zara, he needs me here. Her mom picked up the notebook, reading the day's entries. You can't record every moment, baby. Sometimes we have to. Let things go. Zara took the notebook back. Like the specialized care, silence fell between them. Down the hall, someone's TV played the evening news. I'm trying, her mom whispered. I know. Zara showed her the latest entry. Day 47, 8-whole meal alone. Remembered our names. William stirred. Lisa? That you? They both froze. He'd said her mom's name. Yes, Dad. Her mom's voice shook. I'm here. Where's Zara? She's late for hot chocolate. I'm here too, Grandpa. He blinked at them. Both my girls. But where's? Mary's not here, her mom said gently. Of course she is. She's... His face crumpled. My head hurts. Later, after the night nurse gave his medication, Zara sat doing math homework. Problems blurred on the page. William watched her, unusually quiet. You look tired, he said suddenly. She looked up. His eyes were clear again. I'm okay. No. He shook his head. You're too young to look so tired. Her pencil stilled. Grandpa, you should be in school. His voice strengthened. Not sitting here with a broken old man. Tears pricked her eyes. You're not broken. Mary would say the same thing. He smiled sadly. Always saw the best in everyone. Zara wrote shakily. Day 47. Longest period of clarity yet. I'm where I want to be, she said. He reached for her hand. The leather bracelets touched. My sweet pea. His grip tightened. All grown up? The moment stretched. Held. Then his eyes clouded. Is it time for class? He asked. Mary will be worried. Zara added one more note. Day 47. Progress comes in waves. Through the window, stars appeared in the darkening sky. Somewhere in the city, her mom started another night shift. Bills piled up. Insurance deadlines loomed. But here, in this room, William Thompson held his granddaughter's hand. And for a moment, he'd seen her, really seen her. Sometimes that had to be enough. The key felt heavy in Zara's hand as she unlocked William's front door. 2 months had passed since that Sunday in Grant Park. 2 months of hospitals, therapy, and slow steps forward. Watch the threshold, Dad, her mom said, guiding William's walker. He shuffled inside, looking around like he'd never seen the place before. Maybe today he hadn't. Mary usually has the lights on, he muttered. Zara flipped the switches, bringing the familiar living room to life. Everything exactly as they'd left it, except for the new hospital bed in the corner. The medical supply company had delivered it yesterday. Let's get you settled, her mom said, steering him toward his old armchair instead. Some battles weren't worth fighting yet. Zara went to the kitchen, pulling out 3 mugs. Her hands moved automatically, measuring cocoa powder and milk. The doctor had cleared William for normal foods last week. Today felt like the right day to restart old traditions. Through the doorway, she heard her mom explaining things to William. Living here again, but with some changes. Remember what Dr. Roberts said? Roberts? William frowned. Mary knows my doctors. No, Dad. We talked about this. Mary's. I smell chocolate, he said suddenly. Zara stirred the pot carefully. Almost ready, Grandpa. The milk steamed, releasing familiar scents into the air. She'd practiced this recipe dozens of times in their apartment, trying to get it exactly right. The secret was in the timing. Her notebook sat open on the counter. Day 63, first day home. So much had changed since day one. The specialized care ending when insurance ran out. Basic care teaching them to manage at home. Her mom switching to day shifts only, taking a second job working medical billing from home. And William, fighting his way back one memory at a time. Here we go. Zara carried the mugs out carefully. Thursday afternoon hot chocolate. William stared at his chipped mug. This is mine. Yes. She wrote it down. Day 63, recognized his mug. Mary gave it to me for Father's Day, Zara said. And you gave me this one. She held up her world's best granddaughter mug. He touched the worn lettering on his mug. Father's Day. Lisa made breakfast. Her mom's breath caught. You remember that, Dad? Burned the toast. He smiled slightly. Mary said it was perfect anyway. Zara's pen flew across the page. Day 63. Clear memory of past event. They sipped their hot chocolate, letting the familiar ritual settle over them. Outside, a lawn mower hummed. Wind chimes tinkled on the porch. Another welcome home gift. The roses need water, William said suddenly. Already done, Zara told him. She'd spent yesterday afternoon cleaning up the garden, coaxing the neglected plants back to life. He nodded, then frowned. But Mary usually... Mom, look. Zara pointed to his hand. He held the mug steady. No shaking. Another note. Day 63. Improved motor control. The afternoon sun slanted through windows, catching dust motes in its beams, everything familiar, but slightly different. Like William himself. Her mom checked her watch. I need to set up your medication schedule. She went to the kitchen, returning with pills and a chart. Too many, William complained. They prevent strokes, Zara reminded him. Remember what happened in the park? His face clouded. Park? It's okay. She touched his arm. That's why we write everything down. He noticed her notebook. You write like Mary. All neat and careful. You told me that in the hospital? Hospital? Fear flashed across his face. Here? Zara opened her notebook. Want me to read you the story? All 63 days? He settled back, sipping his chocolate. Her mom paused in organizing pills, listening. Day 1, Zara began. Moved to specialized unit. You squeezed my hand 3 times. The story unfolded through her careful notes. Small victories. Setbacks. Moments of clarity like lightning in fog. William listened, sometimes nodding, sometimes confused. Day 47, she continued. You threw the ball straight to me in therapy. Said both our names. I remember the ball, he said quietly. Blue foam. New note. Day 63, recalls hospital details. Her mom wiped her eyes, pretending to study the medication chart. Zara kept reading until she reached today. Day 63. First day home. Made hot chocolate like you taught me. William looked at his empty mug. The secret's in the timing. That's right. Mary taught me that. He paused. But Mary's not here. No, Grandpa. She's not. He touched his leather bracelet. You made this? Yes. Matching 1C? My good luck charm? His voice strengthened. It led you to me. Zara's hand shook as she wrote. Day 63. Remembers bracelet story and park connection. The sun moved lower, shadows lengthening across the floor. Her mom finished with the medication chart, hanging it prominently on the fridge. Time for a rest, Dad? William let them help him to the hospital bed, new and strange in his familiar room. Will you read more later? He asked Zara. Every day, Grandpa. Promise. He closed his eyes. Just like Mary, always reading to the children. After he drifted off, Zara and her mom sat at the kitchen table. The empty cocoa mugs waited in the sink. You should do your math homework, her mom said. Principal Evans. I know. Zara pulled out her textbook. I'm catching up, baby. Her mom touched her hand. You did good. These past 2 months. We all did good. They sat quietly, listening to William's steady breathing from the other room. So much uncertainty still ahead. Money tight. Care needed. Memories tied, ebbing and flowing. But they had this moment. Hot chocolate sweetness lingering in the air. Sun warming the kitchen tiles. William's voice stronger than yesterday. Zara opened her notebook one last time. Day 63 made it home. Tomorrow would be day 64. Another page to fill with small victories and setbacks. Another day of William finding his way back to them, piece by piece. The leather bracelet caught the fading light as Zara began her math problems. From the living room came William's voice, soft with sleep. My girls. Both my girls. She wrote it down, because every memory mattered, even the ones that slipped away, even the ones they had to make new, one cup of hot chocolate at a time.